And the key theme of all these races tonight is that in them we do see, in my view, the future of the Democrat Party. Because no matter what the results are tonight, we know it is now in the hands of the squad. This is AOC's party, which, by the way, you might recall I predicted would be the case back in 2019. And by extension tonight, it's Zohran Mamdani's party, it's Jay Jones's party, and it's Omar Fateh's party. A communist born in Uganda, a lunatic with a murder fetish, and a socialist who wants to reimagine policing. Isn't that great? They're all favored to win. But even if they somehow don't, their influence will continue.
There is something special in this room tonight. It's power. It's the power of hundreds of thousands of New Yorkers united, ready to usher in a new day. It is the power of a movement that won the battle over the soul of the Democratic Party.
Soul of the Democrat Party is indeed theirs tonight.
Zohran Mamdani, the 34-year-old Democratic Socialist, is the winner, as expected, and will be the next mayor here in New York City. Numbers coming in early. The check mark is next to Mamdani, and he ran a campaign after, winning in a crowded Democratic primary field that was impressive to many, driven by the youth vote here in New York City.
Boy. So we got to talk about the election results, the off-year elections of 2025 that a lot of people are going to claim in the media. This is what they're going to say. They're going to say this is a reflection of Trump, right? This is a referendum on Trump, and that because of these election results, Democrats basically sweeping elections in blue states, in blue cities, basically races they're supposed to win. Democrats doing what they're supposed to do, okay, which again is to win in blue states and blue cities, somehow, some way spells disaster for the GOP and Trump. Now, I'm going to give you guys the most level-headed take on this because I've been here before, right? I've been doing this for years, and trust me, guys, I've been here before, and I'm telling you, it is not wise to get too emotional about these results, okay? I'm going to give you guys my overall thoughts, okay? That doesn't mean that there are no concerns at all. It just simply means that it does not make sense for people to freak out and to panic, okay, and to draw any real strong conclusions based on the fact that Democrats did what, again, they were predicted to do, okay? Now, let's start with the New York City's mayor's race. And again, we're going to get in more details about this race later, but I'm just going to go over some of the overall results. Zohran Mamdani, he has now been projected to be the winner. The race has been called. All of the votes are not in yet. I think about 89% of the votes are in. And it looks like he's going to get about 50%, close to 50%. Cuomo, 41%. Curtis Sliwa, 7%. Again, I'm kind of surprised that Cuomo did not perform better considering how Curtis Sliwa only got 7% of the vote. So it seems as if Zohran basically won on turnout, right? He was able to motivate people to get out and vote, right? And that honestly is going to be the overall theme of this video that I want you guys to take away, is that this really came down to the fact that Democrats motivated their voters to get out and vote more so than anything. And we're going to talk about that. So let's move on to the next one. We have the New Jersey governor's race. You have Mikey Sherrill beating Jack Ciattarelli by a pretty good margin, 13 points. This is kind of a surprise because the polls had this being the closest race, right? If Republicans were going to win one, and I told you guys that Republicans just need to flip one, right? I mean, they were expected to lose all these races, but if they could flip one, it will be an upset. The fact that Jack Ciattarelli lost by 13 points certainly is a disappointment, right? This is actually something to be concerned about. But again, this is a blue state, and it's not like he was expected to win, right? So no surprises here outside the fact that he lost by a pretty large margin, okay? And then you have Virginia, Abigail Spanberger winning with 56% of the vote, 57%. Winsome Earl Sears only getting 42.9%. So technically this is a flip because Glenn Youngkin is the current sitting governor. He's a Republican, and Abigail Spanberger is a Democrat. So therefore, I guess technically you can say that this is a flip because of the fact that the governorship is now blue. Okay. But again, Virginia is a blue state, right? For the most part, when you talk about presidential elections, when you talk about Senate seats and stuff like that, it's a blue state for the most part. So again, it's not like Winsome Earl Sears was expected to win, even though she is the sitting lieutenant governor, because, again, generally this is a blue state. The Democrat was expected to win. So, again, no real surprises outside the fact that the margins aren't great for Republicans here. Now, this is the race that really did surprise me. This one right here was legitimately a disappointment for me because this is also one of the races that I thought a Republican had a good chance of winning and should have won in a sane and good country, right? The Republican would win here, considering how the Democrat fantasized about killing Republicans and his kids. Again, I'm not sure how you vote for this guy to be the top cop of a state with those type of text messages. But again, you know, apparently Democrat voters don't care about this. And this is why Jay Jones ended up beating Jason Mayores. Okay. And yeah, I mean, that is legitimately disappointing. Like, this was a legitimately disappointing result because I thought that, again, the American people, Virginians, were better than this. But apparently not. Apparently I'm mistaken.
Jones. 3 people, 2 bullets. Gilbert, Hitler, Pol Pot. Gilbert gets 2 bullets to the head. Spoiler, put Gilbert in the crew with the 2 worst people you know, and he receives both bullets every time. Colleague. Jay, please stop. Jones. LOL, okay. I mean, do I think Todd and Jennifer are evil and that they're breeding little fascists? Yes. Colleague. You were talking about hoping Jennifer Gilbert's children would die. Jones. Yes, I've told you this before. Only when people feel pain personally do they move on policy.
If you look at some of the questions over the Jay Jones texts and that scandal from text back to 2022 and how this is affecting the Attorney General's race there, possibility of a split ticket, we asked voters what best describes their opinion of those leaked texts. Almost half found them to be disqualifying. About 1 in 4 said they were concerning, but then another 1 in 4 said they weren't concerned or they hadn't heard enough about it. So we'll see how they cast their vote when those numbers start to come in.
Yeah, so you've seen that, you heard that. Okay, major disappointment. Again, that is the most disappointing result of tonight. Jay Jones beating Jason Mayores, despite the fact that Jay Jones, again, fantasized about killing Republicans and their children. And it really tells you everything you need to know about how these lunatics on the left, how they actually feel about their fellow Americans, right? Just because we have a difference of political opinion, these people are totally fine with not only celebrating the assassination of conservative activists like Charlie Kirk, for example, but they will then vote in people, right, top cops that agree with killing Republicans, right? So, again, that is the most disappointing outcome of tonight. So with that being said, I just want to give you guys my overall thoughts, okay? Because there's a lot of people, conservatives, Republicans, they're going to say the sky's falling. This is a referendum against Trump, you know, yada, yada, yada. Like, this is the end of the world. And I'm telling you guys, it is not, okay? I'm telling you guys that these elections don't really mean that much for Republicans. But I do think it means a lot for Democrats because I do think that Democrat Party behavior, okay, how they move forward is going to be dictated by the outcome of these elections. And I think that's going to be a mistake, right? And I'm going to explain where I'm coming from here. But as far as it goes for Republicans, that is, people got to understand that Democrats spent the last 8-9 months literally rioting in the streets with the most radical portions of their base. They spent months doing this. We're talking about the No Kings rallies, the rallies against the federal layoffs, which, by the way, I mean, that's probably the main reason why Winsome Earl Sears lost Virginia, right? Why Republicans didn't do well in Virginia is because those layoffs definitely affected Virginia a lot, right? So you got to factor in stuff like that. But you got to understand, these off-year elections really come down to who's the angriest, right? Which voters are the angriest right now? Which voters are most motivated to vote, right? That's what it comes down to. And clearly, obviously, Democrat voters were more motivated than Republican voters. And that makes sense because Republicans are the party in power. And when you're the party in power, yeah, you take the blame for everything, right? Even if it's not necessarily Trump's fault, it's not Republicans' fault. Like, for example, the economy right now doesn't really have that much to do with President Trump's policies because President Trump's signature policy, the big, beautiful bill on the economy, it just was passed in July, right? During the summer, right? It hasn't had enough time to really do anything, right? So people voting against Trump because of the economy is kind of silly because, again, there just hasn't been enough time. He hasn't been in office long enough for his signature piece of legislation to actually do anything, right? Now, who knows? Some people could be upset about the mass deportations. I'm not saying that that's not a thing, but, you know, I just feel like the mass deportations have to happen no matter what. I don't care if Democrats get mad about it. They have to happen, right? But I guess my point is this. They were more motivated to vote, okay? The Democrat Party was on life support. They were desperate, okay? And on top of that, Democrats used this shutdown, and we're starting to find out that that was the whole point of the shutdown. They used the shutdown in order to motivate their voters even more to get out and vote against Trump. Okay, so they've essentially been campaigning against Trump since the day he got in office, guys. Okay, that's what you got to understand. Republican voters are content. We just won the election of our lifetimes. We don't have any real motivation to get out and vote. Let's be real. I mean, these elections were local and state races. They didn't really have that much to do with the federal government. Trump didn't campaign on behalf of these Republican candidates. Again, these are local state races. People got to put this in the proper context, okay? We're talking about a couple of blue state governors, a deep blue New York City, right, that has decided to go socialist. Prop 50 out in California probably matters more than any of those races. Let's be real. When we're talking about the midterms, we don't have the results for that yet, okay? But those results will probably come in tonight. I'm guessing is going to pass, considering the momentum that Democrats have shown in these races, right? The turnout, again, the fact that Trump derangement is an effective strategy, right? I mean, it is. It's an effective strategy to motivate these lunatics to get out and vote. Let's just call it what it is. So I'm assuming that that is probably going to pass out in California. Now, if it doesn't pass, yeah, that would be devastating for Democrats. None of these wins will matter if Prop 50 doesn't pass out in California when you talk about the midterms. But I'm assuming that it is going to pass, right? So assuming that it is going to pass, Democrats sweep, right? They swept. I still don't think that we should be drawing any conclusions about the midterms, okay, for Republicans, at least not as of right now. And one of the reasons why is because a year from now, it's safe to assume that we're going to be in a different situation. Things are going to be different a year from now.
I disagree with all of you.
And you don't even know what we said.
Yeah, I've been watching Cuomo, and I can, unlike you, I can absorb information. This has nothing to do with the midterms, zero. And the reason is so many things are going to happen between now and this time next year. And it's going to be a completely different country than it is now. Now, I can't predict which way that's going to go.
Then how do you know it's going to be a completely different country?
Because there are so many things that have to be decided. There are too many undecideds. And you can start with the Supreme Court ruling on the tariffs. You can start on that. And they'll rule in Donald Trump's favor because of the 1974 law that Gerald Ford signed into. And they have to. The Supreme Court can't change the law. It has to uphold what's already been in precedent. Now, they'll rein Trump in a little bit, but that will give Trump then a free field to see if in the next 8 months the tariffs can kick in to bring prices down and to help people. That's what the midterms are all about. It's about economics here. It's not about China. It's not even about Putin. It's about that.
Yeah, so I agree with Bill O'Reilly, right? And again, the reason why is because we don't know what situation we're going to be in a year from now, okay? And Democrats, I believe, they're going to look at these election results and they're going to now say, okay, we have a green light to lean into the most radical portions of our base, right? And that is why Democrats are out of power right now, guys, right? Democrats are out of power because they went too far left. If they decide that, you know what, we're going to embrace that again, they're going to end up in the same situation. Look at this post right here. Ayanna Pressley is seriously considering jumping into the race for the Massachusetts Senate seat currently held by fellow Democrat Ed Markey. So you have another radical lunatic, along with Jasmine Crockett and others, that are considering running for Senate. You have Zohran Mamdani winning in New York City. It looks like, as of right now, he's going to get about 50% of the vote. Democrats are going to conclude that, yeah, Trump derangement and socialism, that is the formula that we need in order to beat Trump, right? To beat Republicans. That's what they're going to conclude. And my gut feeling tells me is that if they want to lean into far left nonsense, woke nonsense, if these individuals are winning primaries, again, the Ayanna Presleys, the Jasmine Crockett's, my gut feeling tells me that in an actual, real election year, okay, I think they're going to lose general elections. It's hard for me to see them winning general elections if Democrats decide that they want to lean into the most far left extremist portions of their base, specifically in swing states, right? Swing districts, okay? States that are center left, okay? And, solid Republican states like Texas, for example. Yeah, I don't see Democrats winning with these lunatics in general elections. So, personally, I think people got to take a step back and to really understand that, hey, you know what? Let Democrats believe that this is the formula. Let Democrats believe that going far left is what's going to win them elections. Let them believe it. Let them believe it. Right?
So many people who participated and were brought together by his campaign, because they were not just tasked with defeating a Republican. They were also tasked with defeating the old guard of the Democratic Party that essentially led us to many of the perils of this moment. So he had a two-front war to win, which is what makes his victory so deeply impressive. And I do think that this moment, a lot of people who are willing to talk about party unity when it serves them, but not party unity when it serves everybody, it puts those folks on notice. And I think it also puts folks on notice that we have a future to plan for. We have a future to fight for. And we're either going to do that together or you're going to be left behind. And I think that is not a partisan issue. It's not about progressive. It's not moderate. It's not liberal. This is about, do you understand the assignment of fighting fascism right now? And the assignment is to come together across difference no matter what.
Right? Let's allow Zohran to run New York City. Let's allow him to run it into the ground. We've seen this experiment play out time and time and time again. We've seen it in Seattle. We've seen it in Portland. We've seen it in Oakland. We've seen it in San Francisco. We've seen it in Chicago. All of these far left lunatics, they get into power and then they run these cities into the ground. And then guess what? We have an example to point to and say, hey, this is what Democrats have endorsed. This is what they believe in. And this is the result. So listen, at the end of the day, man, I'm not that concerned about it, to be honest with you. I'm just not. And again, the primary reason why is because we haven't had enough time for President Trump's economic policies to really start to take effect, right? Also, on top of that, Democrats pulled out every trick in their playbook in order to motivate the far left extremists to get out and vote, right? I mean, again, you're talking about rallying in the streets, throwing riots. You're talking about shutting down the government. They did everything they could. They needed to. Their party was on life support. This was it for them. If one Republican won, right? Let's say if the Republican won in New Jersey, it was over. It was over for Democrats. They had to perform the way that they performed in order to keep their party alive. But that doesn't mean that we should panic. That doesn't mean that we should be, disappointed or depressed, right? There's no reason to be disappointed considering how Democrats did what they were supposed to do. They were already projected to win. These are blue states. There was no major upset here, okay? There was no major upset. And I'm just telling you guys, based off wisdom, the fact that I've done this for so long and I cover this stuff every single day, so I've seen this before. That doesn't mean that Republicans need to be complacent. No, they don't need to be complacent. The Republicans still need to make sure that they're focusing on the key issues that American voters are concerned about. But at the same time, people got to understand that when you're in power, even if you're doing the right thing, like, for example, deporting the illegal immigrants, right? Yeah, that's going to piss some people off, right? If Republicans actually did what Republicans should be doing to fix this country, let's be real. If Republicans actually cut spending, if they cut back on entitlements, if, again, they continue with the mass deportations, right? If they did everything that we wanted them to do, Democrat voters would be so upset that they would vote in droves. That's just kind of how politics goes, right? Like what happened with Obamacare. When Obama and the Democrats decided to pass the Affordable Care Act that didn't make healthcare affordable, they got blown out in the midterms because that's how it goes, right? That's just how it goes. So, you know, are Democrats still probably likely to win the midterms next year? Yeah, they're probably likely to win, but it's really about whether or not it's going to be a blowout or whether or not it's going to be, you know, a blue trickle, okay? Or will Republicans keep the House? We don't know. We don't know. I'm just saying that this election right here should not be an election that people look too deep into, right? Let the progressives celebrate. Let them, you know, say, oh, this is the future of the party. This is the direction that the country should go in. Let the Democrats embrace far leftism. Let them embrace socialism. I don't think you can win general elections in the states that actually win national elections, right? In the states that actually matter. I don't think you can. I think, yeah, you can win as a socialist in New York City. You can win as a socialist in California and some of these deep blue cities. Yeah, you can win, right? Which, you know, sucks for those cities. But hey, sometimes you got to give them what they want. Just give them what they want, because that's the only way that they learn. They're going to vote for a Democrat regardless, right? So, I mean, if they want to vote for a socialist, a communist, great. Let them have it. That just gives us something to point to, an example to point to, say, hey, this is what you're voting for as a country, right? If you decide to get on board with the Democrat Party. So, to be honest with you, I'm not upset. I'm not even surprised that much by the result. And I just want people to understand that, hey, don't freak out about this. It's not that big of a deal. Yes, Republicans need to do more. They don't need to be complacent, but you got to understand the context and the circumstances that we're in. This is what happens when your party's in power, right? You're less motivated than the people out of power. The angriest people in this country right now are the people that are out of power, right? They're the angriest people. They're the most motivated to vote. And they got out and they voted and they felt like, hey, we're sticking it to Trump. And that's fine if they feel that way. But it doesn't really change anything. Republicans are still in power. We still got a year into the midterms. We still got a year. And within a year, a lot of things can change. And we're going to see what happens. So I'm personally not worried about it. If anything, again, I believe that Democrats will embrace socialism. They will make people like Mamdani the leader of their party, the leader of their movement. Okay, a lot of these established Democrats are going to get washed in primaries. You're going to have the lunatics running left and right. And if, again, those people, if they're front and center in regards to what the Democrats stand for and what they believe in, hey, it's going to be easier for Republicans to win when it really matters, right? When people are actually paying attention to elections, right? When Republicans are actually motivated to get out and vote. So that's what I think. Let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.